Hey, Alpha fam, welcome back to another episode of Alpha Commission. Today on Alpha Commission, of course, we're going to go over that massive pump on the Bitcoin chart. Guys, as you can see, we do have our altcoins just pumping in the last hour or so. In the last day, a little bit of a pullback after that pump by Bitcoin. Of course, that is to be expected, and also Bitcoin dominance would be pretty high. But if we do go over to our Solana chart, we can see that the pattern that I was suggesting is playing out. Now let's just go ahead and throw on that pattern, right? That was actually a broadening descending wedge that I was suggesting we should look for, and that we would be looking for the breakout of this resistance zone that I had so kindly marked out for you. And check this out, right? Where it was resistance, 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 pump right to the level of my zone, and then we flipped it almost to the penny here. We flipped it almost to the penny. Now that suggests a potential breakout on this broadening descending wedge formation. And guys, if you just want to take a look at how accurate this pattern was, boom, boom, and then also the through line, boom, right? And that's where we got that higher low. Now, I was also suggesting that we were putting in a smaller pattern, this inverted head and shoulders. Of course, we would have to flip the neckline, and here we have it. We are flipping the neckline almost precisely as where I marked it out, which happens to just coincidentally correspond to that bigger pattern, that broadening descending wedge. Now, if we do take a look at the last momentum pool that we were looking at, I was telling you that these, the hold and the add and lose momentum levels were just getting squeezed together. And whenever we have that type of a squeeze, often we can expect a highly volatile move. So you wanted to position yourself as this pool got really narrow. And as long as we were above that volatility pivot at 144, we should expect a bias to the upside. And as long as we were below it, we might expect a bias to the downside. Now, we did have a little bit of a candle that did try to give us a fake out. But as soon as we recovered that level, we knew that we were looking to the upside. Plus, we were likely to be putting in a higher low here. Now, we are above my big alpha energy level, so this does suggest that we could have continuation. And if you do want to have just up only bullishness on this one, then we would be taking a measured move of that inverted head and shoulders, and that could suggest that we could not only overcome our weekly volatility pivot, but also our 2-week volatility pivot, and put us squarely in that bull zone, which could imply greater continuation or maybe a retest of our previous all-time high somewhere around that 260. Now, in terms of pullbacks, because you don't just go up in a straight line, right? Usually you have a little bit of a pullback, something to just kind of wobble the market a bit, just kind of shake out weak hands. And of course, we could have a little pullback to, I don't know, I would say, under 155. Actually, I do get a little bit worried because I don't really want to break this formation. We've had a nice little back test here, but as long as we're above this low at 140, I'm probably not going to be biased to the downside. I'm probably just going to be looking at this as some type of, pullback, some type of retest, some type of type of scare tactic by market makers to try to shake you out. But it looks like we've gotten that breakout. Anyway, we have a higher high and we have a higher low, and that does imply that the trend would continue. So as long as we hold that bottom level somewhere between 138 to 140, then that's going to continue to be our higher low here. And, anything above 155 just looks great for Solana. Now, let's go ahead and just jump over to Bitcoin. Guys, again, this is another one that I've just been calling for weeks over here for this potential breakout on my falling wedge pattern. If we go ahead and throw that on, here's my falling wedge pattern. And wouldn't you know, a boom, a boom, a boom, a boom, and boom, and then again, a boom, boom, right? So we've basically tagged all of these key points, right, on my falling wedge, and this uses the alpha, method of finding these support and resistance zones, which other guys just don't use. Usually just using one line, right? They don't know where it's going to get rejected or where it's potentially going to be limited on a flip move, which we're kind of getting right now, and which we got over here, right, which eventually worked into a breakdown, just like this one was a deviation and and where we came back into strength, right? These type of zones are super important. If you want to just learn that methodology, go ahead and just take a look for the link in the description of the video below. You can join us at the Discord, and we're always there just free to chat if you'd like to just talk. Trading can be a lonely game, so it's nice to have people around. Guys, we do expect a little bit of a pullback on this. Similar to Solana, we've got that kind of left shoulder, this head, and this right shoulder pattern going on. If we do take a measured move off of that one, we can see that maybe it does suggest that we're going to have new all-time highs here, maybe even 75K is perhaps the target off of that inverted head and shoulders there. But I'm not really 100% convinced that that's the move that's going to just happen right away. This is actually a bit of a broadening descending wedge itself, and so the target really is just the drop candle here. So really, I'm just looking to 70 at first, and then it could chop around or do something else. We could just go to Valhalla and it may be 85K or something. It's just I'm not ready to just call that yet. If we do take a look at the pool that well, let's just take a look at the previous pool, why don't we? If we were taking a look at the previous pool that we were working off of, you can't see that zone there. We were bullish above 61,600 or so, and then of course off of that momentum pool, just pow, right straight to the moon up here, guys. And we're just being limited by that upper zone here that we now need to flip and break out of. We are above that big alpha energy. Guys, I put a lot of thought into this system that I've developed, so please respect the momentum pool, guys. We can have pullbacks as deep as actually the bottom of our add and lose momentum here to 61,805. But really to keep that bullish bias, I really only want to tackle this fair value gap here because this was kind of an institutional candle. I want to target that fair value gap somewhere around that 63,440. If we just fill in this area, you see the pattern that I've had up here for weeks and weeks and weeks, guys. Okay, when I first hypothesized this, and just to target at 57 as our potential reversal point, which we absolutely smashed, I would be expecting a little bit of a pullback. Now, if we do just continue straight from here, I mean, that would be just incredibly bullish. And the first sign of that would be to get above 66,245 and just close the day there. Where do we get into our bull zone for Bitcoin? That's above 67,685 there, which is now aligning really nicely with that weekly volatility pivot, and that suggests that our weekly is also going to have a bias to the upside. And you know what happens when Bitcoin has a weekly bias to the upside? Yeah, we're talking about bull run back on, right? And so if we bump our head in this area and get a little bit of pullbacks, well, maybe we do sideways for maybe another month or so, right? But if we can flip that area, and especially if we get this 2-week volatility pivot somewhere around 70,000, I would expect that this is going to be game on, and probably you want to be in your positions for that bull market, guys. All right, that's your alpha for the day. Stay safe and happy trading.